Hi, sixth graders. We're moving on in the Odyssey, chapter 7. Last time we read, Odysseus was stuck with Circe, kind of put a spell on him. He realized about a year later that his men finally convinced him, like, hey, get out of this spell and let's go home. Circe said, you can't just go home. You've got to go to Hades, the underworld where the dead goes, and you need to make an offering to the gods in order for me to release you. And that is where we left off. All right, here we go. The living visit the dead. My men were quiet and serious as we boarded our ship, Odysseus said. Circe, that great and clever goddess, sent us a fair wind. We reached the river Styx with no problems. We were at the edge of Hades by nightfall. It was the entrance to a frightful place where no living men were meant to go. Almost as soon as we arrived, the ghosts came. Young brides and bachelors, old men worn out from work, brave men and fellow soldiers who had been lost in battle, and many more. My men were shaking and covering their eyes. Some of them were crying. They did not want to visit with the dead. Neither did I. But it was part of our journey, so we pushed on. We began to arrange some gifts we had brought for the spirits. The ghosts tried to grab our gifts, but I would not let them. I needed some answers first. One of the first ghosts who came close to us was Agamemnon, my old friend from the Trojan War, Odysseus said. He told me that when he returned to Sparta after the war, his wife had married another man, and she and her new husband had killed him upon his return. I was devastated to hear of my old friend's sad end. Agamemnon warned me that I could not trust my wife Penelope. His advice was to not tell anyone I was coming home. He suggested I show up suddenly, unannounced, to see if she had been true to me. Next appeared the ghost I had especially come to see, the prophet Tiresias. He carried a golden staff in his hand. I asked him when and how we could get back to Ithaca. Tiresias told me our trip home would be hard. Poseidon still felt much bitterness toward me for blinding his son. The sea god was trying to make my journey difficult. Tiresias then mentioned that we would need to travel past the island of the sun god. We would still get home if we would behave ourselves while we were there. It was important that we leave his beautiful flocks of sheep and cattle alone. If we could do that, the rest of our trip home would be smooth. We just had to make sure we didn't touch the sun god's animals. Tiresias knew many things about me. He also told me about Penelope's suitors at my home in Ithaca. When he said this, my face became hot and anger filled my body. Tiresias noticed and told me that I would get my revenge. Odysseus bowed his head. This next part of the story was hard to tell. After I spoke with Tiresias, he said, the ghosts came out to greet us, a parade of all the people I had known, and each in front of me. Each of my men experienced the same thing. The ghost of their friends, family, and foes swirled around each of them, wanting to speak. For me, the brave soldiers who fought and died beside me in Troy came to shake my hand. Of course, I could not grip them since they were ghosts. It was the hardest for me to see my dear mother, who was alive when I had left Ithaca for battle. I never got to say my last goodbyes to her. She told me that she had died of sadness, waiting for me to come home to Ithaca. I was heartbroken and tried to hug her, but of course she was a ghost, so my arms passed right through her. It was like hugging the air. Some of the ghosts were being punished for the wrongs they had committed during their lives, Odysseus said, trembling. It was horrible to watch. The ghost of a man named Tantalus stood in a beautiful freshwater lake. Above his head hung branches full of fruits, pears, pomegranates, apples, sweet figs, and juicy olives. Yes, yet Telemachus will be hungry and thirsty forever, for each time he reached up to grab the fruits, the wind tossed them out of his grasp, and whenever he bent down to take a drink, the water dropped out of his reach. And I saw another ghost, Odysseus added, named Sisyphus. Sisyphus. His punishment was to roll a big stone up to the top of a hill. Whenever he was almost to the top, the stone would slip from his hands and roll back down the mountain. This happened over and over again. I saw the look of failure in his eyes. After a while, Odysseus concluded, I couldn't take any more. I had to get out of Hades. No wonder most mortals are not allowed to go there. I bid Tiresias, sorry, let me go back to my notes. Tiresias, I bid Tiresias farewell and thanked him for his wise advice. My men and I then gladly came back up to the world of the living. All right, we're going to stop right there. He learns that his friend Agamemnon had died, killed by his wife and his wife's new husband when he returned back from the war. He also learned that his mother had died, and she was alive when he had left to go to the Trojan War also. He got some advice from some people, and we will see where the story goes next. Have a great rest of your day.